Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Uzo Agyare-Kumi. I'm joining you from Ghana, Accra, and I will be your host for this conversation. I am a mother of two young adults and serve as Dean Emeritus at African Leadership Academy, based in Johannesburg, South Africa. I am also the founder of our parent network community, ALA Derin. This growing community seeks to connect with ALA's vision to develop a generation of 6,000 young leaders for the African continent. It's an honor and privilege to be here with you today. Africa in Motion is an annual African film festival taking place in Scotland, consisting of film screenings and complementary events. Now in its 16th year, AIM has established itself as a major annual event within the Scottish cultural calendar, whilst also maintaining an international profile as one of the leading African film platforms. We are pleased to be screening the film for Maria Ebun Pataki, a portrayal of the aftermath of birth and a woman's struggle with postpartum depression. I'm delighted to welcome our guest, Damilola Orimogunje, the director of this film. Damilola is a Nigerian screenwriter and film director whose works have screened in over 50 film festivals, winning several awards. His debut feature film, For Maria Ebun Pataki, premiered at Film Africa 2020, winning the Audience Choice for Best Narrative Feature Award. The film went on to be nominated for 6 awards at the African Movies Academy Awards, AMAA, also known as the African Oscars. Damilola has been featured on Guardian, Sight and Sound, BBC as one of the young, prominent filmmakers from Africa. Hello, Damilola. Congratulations once again. And we will take a few questions from you to learn more about this awesome film that you have directed for Maria Ebun Pataki. So tell me, what inspired you to create this film?
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for that beautiful introduction. Concerning the film, at the point I wanted to make a feature film, my debut, and then I was thinking of what to particularly say, what to particularly speak about, and in the midst of contemplating different ideas, different stories, I was talking to a friend on a casual day, just a casual conversation. And then she said something about postpartum depression and then went on speaking about it. And after the call, I realized that it kept ringing in my head. It kept, disturbing me, the story itself, and then I kept thinking about people that I've not experienced it myself, but people that I've seen experienced it. And it was like, more like it was, it was burning in me, to want to make this story, to want to talk about this subject matter. And then we started the entire, researching, development process, and then pre-production of the film off just that conversation we had in 2019.
Wonderful. I must say, I found the film fascinating, and it was fascinating. And I looked at it and I thought, my goodness, it's an hour. It's just over 90 minutes, which is amazing. We see 2 main depictions of womanhood in this film, particularly so the suffering woman, which is Derin, and her mother-in-law. Why was it important for you to present these 2 perspectives of motherhood against each other?
So 2 things for me, concerning that. I think firstly, when I wanted to make the film, one of the things I said to myself was it needs to be portrayed in the most realistic way. It needs to be portrayed in a way most people watch it in Nigeria, or people watch it in Africa generally, or it's a universal subject. So most people watch it in the world and then they can relate, to this particular story. And one of the things I could relate to personally was the fact that I've seen people, go through this kind of trauma, after giving birth. And I see how people generally relate to it. I see the way outsiders relate to it. I see the way the family relates to it because, like we all know, giving birth to a child is supposed to be like a great thing. It's supposed to be the utmost blessing you can almost ask for, in marriage, generally. So when you now get married, and when you give birth, and then you're at a position where you are not, in your fulfillment, or you are not happy, or you're not, embracing the love of the child, it becomes like a taboo. Not even like it is a taboo, especially in the Yoruba community or just in the Nigerian community generally. So I wanted to make sure that this is portrayed, in a way that most people watch and then they can realize that this is their story. And then secondly, I think currently now in 2021, or when the film was made in 2020, there's somewhat a disconnect between the new generation and the old generation. And I'm talking about the new generation kind of like, understand the world in a different point of view. They are more let me say more exposed, to like a lot of things about, we start talking about mental health now in the society these days. Unlike 10, 20 years ago, nobody talks about it. Oftentimes mental health is associated to probably spirituality or to, or to something just vain and naive, And I feel like right now we are at that point where people are becoming observant. So it is my job as a filmmaker, to want to tell people, to give people this orientation. So it was like me bringing the older generation in the film as the mother-in-law, and then bringing the newer generation, which is the lead character in the film, and then bringing their mind, their scope, their sense of the subject matter, and then portraying it in the film. And also, it's supposed to be like a message somewhat, to this older generation that this thing happened, I mean, the fact that you're not connected, there's something called postpartum depression, it's not mental illness, it's not spirituality, it's just postpartum depression. It's a mental illness and it's real.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Damilola. This film definitely brought that out. I think I definitely identified with the mother-in-law in terms of just observing almost the deliberateness and intentional way in which she wanted to almost exclude or dismiss what Derin was feeling, and trying to sort of say that she was being lazy and that she wasn't being a mother. What's your take on the broader message that your film speaks to concerning motherhood and the erasure of a woman's identity outside it? You are from Nigeria, so am I. There is this large emphasis on motherhood. And when you are a mother, there's very little else that you're seen as. What was the broader message that you're trying to help to sort of portray in this film? For Ebun.
I mean, so definitely that's a very good question, by the way. I feel like approaching this, I had to come from like a man's point of view at first. That's like the first conceptualization of the film itself. I started thinking to myself, and I'm like, we all know how women are portrayed in this society generally. There is this illusion, of this is how a woman should be, this is how a mother should be, this is how a mother must be. And I feel like it's limiting, and it's crazy because you can't limit everyone to be a particular ideology. You can't tell people to live this particular way. You can have someone else who is just different and wants to live in a different way. So I feel like we need to, we're at the point where everyone needs to speak up. Women need to speak up. Men need to speak up. Men need to speak up for women, and then because it's just like a collective responsibility, to talk about issues that women actually go through, and then also make people realize that it's actually normal to actually go through some certain situations. Like I said before, there is this insane stigmatization to women about giving birth and then giving them an accord to this is how you should feel. And I just feel like it's it's madness. And then one of the things I was trying to do film is to, is to show different angles to where people, were talking about the issue. For example, you see the people that came to the wedding ceremony and to the naming ceremony, the friends and family giving advices, this is how you should do it. This is what you should do at this time, without considering this person's feelings, without considering what the person was actually going through. And I feel like even with the perspective of the husband, with the mother-in-law, with the stranger that just met her in the mall, this is it's a designed way in which people want women should be. And it's not black and white. But people should be able to live the way they want to live. And then people should be able to relate to them based off their feelings, without actually judging them. And I feel like this film kind of like sums it up, not in a very conventional or in a direct manner, but in a broader perspective. When you think about it, and I realize that this story is actually talking about not just the woman, not just the mother, not just the child, but basically about our mentality, when it comes to issues like this, and then basically how the society should see things like this.
You're absolutely right. Our ability to recognize mental health and to normalize it in a way that allows for people to feel able to ask for help. And I think one of the major things that Derin wasn't able to do was to ask for help, because at every point in time, she was being held up as this person that needed to be perfect, and this is the standard you need to hold. You're not measuring up to that, which I found, that Derin, the actress who actually played Derin, did very, very well. Yes, it was such a powerful way in which she portrayed the helplessness. What I also found interesting was your portrayal of the husband as a gentleman who, in some way, was really keen to sort of support his wife and understand where she was coming from, but he equally was quite limited. I think eventually he sort of almost fell by the wayside, and began, joined the bandwagon of, why are you not doing what needs to be done? But realized only too late, during her demise, that he didn't actually provide the support that he could have provided. In your practice, what are some of the findings that have surprised you? Did this film speak to that? What were some of the surprises amongst your cast? Maybe within the reviews, within maybe people who have watched it. What surprised you with regards to making of this film?
Well, I think it's for me. I mean, if you're conversant with Nollywood, you realize that there is also this sense of this is how a film should be. This is how a film should look. This is how a film should be portrayed. So I grew up watching films. I grew up watching Nollywood films. And some are like, we have like eras of on Nollywood where everyone makes like the same kind of films. And then somewhat like, if you're making a film, it should be shot this way, it should look this way, the music should be this way, the acting should be this way, which is quite conventional. So what I would say, not surprising to me, but it was me actually setting out to be different, it was me thinking, okay, I don't want to make films the way everyone is making it. And this is not even because I want to be different for being different's sake, but I just realized that if you're making a film and then everyone in, let's say, 95% of the films you're making is dramatic, does that mean that we don't have people, does that mean that we don't have people in Nigeria who are quite, conservative, who are not melodramatic, who are quite, chilled, when it comes to interpretation of roles? Those are things I think about. And I feel like the film, me setting out to make this film is like representation of people that are not particularly represented in most Nigerian films, and then I feel like that was the approach to it. Even while talking to the actors, because definitely I'm working with actors that have probably even been in the industry more than me, in terms of experience, And then I was telling, for example, I was having a conversation with Afolabi, who played the husband. And then, he did this scene and it was like, oh, wow, that was wonderful, And I called him and I'm like, okay, can you do this film differently? Can you do this scene differently? But I want you to tone it down. I don't want you to move. I want you to just communicate with your eyes. And they looked at me and then was like, okay, why would I do that? You know, and I'm like, this film or this character is not you, Gabriel. This character is, you know, is the husband who I think is, like you said, you know, who is not dramatic, who is not, you know, who is not the conventional man that will probably scream and then shout and then support his mother-in-law and want to be a man. You know, he's someone that wants to probably just, you know, listen to the wife and then let the wife take control, even though she's not taking control. So, I mean, I feel like, and it wasn't, I mean, because he's a terrific actor. He's a very terrific actor who works with a director, you know. At that point, he trusted my judgment and was like, okay, no problem. And at the end of the shoot, he called me and he was like, are you sure about my performance? Are you sure it was good? You know, because each time he wants to like pick it up, I'm telling him, can you bring it down? You know, and that is that, you know, you need to deal with. Not surprising to me, you know, but I just knew that these are things I need to do differently. Also about, you know, the reviews I feel like most of the reviews we've gotten for the film has been positive, which is incredible, by the way. I mean, I'm delighted, you know, to be able to make this impact on people, you know, not just with the message, but particularly with the film's style and language, you know. And I'm looking forward to actually screening the film officially in Nigeria, because we've not had any screening in Nigeria. You know, and then because I really want to hear what people think in Nigeria, you know, in terms of, you know, it's kind of like slow cinema, you know, it's different, you know, like I want to know how people would actually think. Probably that would be the surprising element. I won't probably be surprised because I'm looking forward to like a mixed review, you know, but however it comes.
I am excited for you, Damilola. I'm actually surprised that you haven't actually screened it in Nigeria. I think it would be an excellent viewing, particularly for the younger generation who have been really, really gasping for this type of film, and dwelling on some of these really, really important issues. And I think the older generation, people like myself, are coming to really understand now how important it is for us to delve into these issues and to share some of our own experiences. And so I think from my second to last question for you is, I really enjoyed the film, but at some points of the film, the lighting was very dark, and so made it very kind of difficult to see at times. And I'm sure there is a reason why you were doing that. And, you know, what effect were you trying to create for the viewers? Because I was watching it with my son, and he has his own ideas about what that was. But I really would love to hear from you. What was the rationale for keeping it low and dim and dark?
Nice observation. Firstly, while making the film, I wanted the film to be visually stunning. You know, I wanted it to look beautiful. And then, I mean, you realize that with the bold, colorful pictures, you know, despite the fact that the theme of the film is quite melancholic, you know, but despite the fact you still have like, you know, the picture was still popping, you know, but at the point when we get to like the third act of the film and towards the end of the film, I feel like it was getting towards the end point for the character Derin. You know, and then I feel like I need to interpret that also visually, you know, and then, you know, what seemed quite glowing and then, you know, and colorful started dimming, you know, and then gradually we started seeing like lights that was somewhat in the house at the point started going on. Just that depiction when they come back from the hospital and then the light was off and then they put it on. You know, at that point it was supposed to be, and then there was a prayer going on at that moment. And then they were talking about, you know, God bring light, God bring blessing and everything. What a normal family would do, you know, talk about the blessings. But then they took the light in the middle of it, you know. And so it was supposed to be like an expression of, you know, this is a story, because that's like the beginning of the film. A story of, you know, of elimination and then of you know, of actually killing the illumination at some point, you know. So at the point where she was getting towards death, you know, definitely, even though it might not seem like a surprise to a lot of people. But then again, I wanted it to transition in a very smooth manner. Also, if you notice the bathroom where she constantly goes to probably clean her makeup, to look at the mirror, it served like a refuge, in the home.
Yes.
It was where she would walk to and then stay at, to probably reflect in her own personal way, the way she knows how to do it. At the point where it was illuminated, when she had it, she was still trying to manage it and had it figured out. But at the point where it got to the end, we killed the light. It was dim, because we wanted it to. It's like the end of the journey for her. It's at the end. There's no more light in the house. There's no more light in her place of refuge. She's about to kill it. And then she shuts the door on us, and then we have husband come back in darkness, and then he's wondering what's going on. Where's my wife? Where's everyone? He goes to see it. It's in darkness as well, and then she's dead. The end of the film.
It's a beautiful film, and if you were expecting a shudder from your viewers, then you definitely got that from me. I wasn't expecting the end. I wasn't expecting it at all. I think, I kept hoping that at some point something will happen and she'd be saved. She would come to her, and so when she was prepping herself and dressing up and looking absolutely stunning, my mind was like, oh, wow, she's finally coming to herself. She's, and so, yes, I think there will be that sudden shock at the end and confusion. So I actually looked at it 3 times. I scrolled all the way back.
Yeah.
Didn't, yes. And I like the fact that the baby is silent, because the baby throughout majority of your film was crying all the time. And the silence, and I thought, oh, this is, as much as I wished that nothing had happened to the baby, I knew that the baby too, was gone. And it's certainly not what I wished for the husband, because he tried his very best. These things happen. These things happen. I think my final question to you, Damilola, would be, you're quite a young filmmaker yourself, but you're opening up to really tackle some really deep and dense topics and issues. What advice would you give to other young filmmakers, trying to tell stories from this observer's point of view, particularly from an observer point of view that maybe doesn't really affect you as a male, in this regard?
Right. I think pretty much what I say to everyone, is the fact that you need to be true to yourself. Firstly, I feel like every filmmaker should ask themselves the question, what kind of filmmaker I want to be? What kind of films do I want to make? What is my niche? When you ask yourself these kind of questions, and then it's quite authentic to you. You're not trying to plagiarize someone else, or to plagiarize or to impersonate it's a character that is not you. I feel like it comes to you effortlessly, and I feel like at that point you can make authentic and then powerful work, which really speaks, because it's coming from the soul, and that's why I can decide to make a film that particularly I shouldn't make. I mean, I'm saying that in respect of making a film that you would expect a woman to make, because of the subject matter. But I could make it because I realized that I was quite, passionate about it. I was passionate about the story I wanted to tell. So I feel like, aside from the passion burning, in making films, you need to be authentic and then be realistic about what kind of films you want to make. I think also it's exposure. You need to expose yourself to like a lot of things, to good books, to good films, to people generally. Talk to people that are intelligent. Talk to people. I mean, outside the film industry, also. People in the art space, people in other industries. That can give you something that is quite beneficial. That would progress you as a filmmaker or your project. So I feel like it's all these elements put into one. Just makes it natural for you?
Wow, my wish for you with this film for Maria Ebun Pataki is that it will take you to spaces that need to understand this issue, in particular postpartum depression, that it would take you to spaces where women will feel comfortable to share some of their experiences, whether it is something that they have experienced themselves or things that they have heard. My wish for you is that you will go into spaces to discuss this issue from a mental health perspective, into hospitals, into maternity, to speak with nurses, to speak with, doctors, all various different health institutions, and that this message becomes a really strong message to share, so that women don't die in vain, so that families aren't broken in a way that we see. And also, I think finally that, that we come out into the light, we come out into the light on this really painful issue that is so misunderstood. And so misunderstood for women and girls in our communities. Do you have any final thoughts or comments for the audience at all?
Well, I'm assuming they've seen the film by this time, so I would just like to thank everyone who has seen the film now, and I would love to definitely to listen to everybody's feedback, to converse with people about how they feel about the film. We can have the conversation extensively, probably on social media. Also, I would like everyone to to just keep up this conversation, because I feel like the days of making this film, is to create a broader conversation that gives an orientation to like a larger amount of people, especially in Africa. People that are still living under this mindset that these things don't happen, or are still, or people that have gone through these things, and then just feel stigmatized, and they can't just come out in the open and talk about these issues, so I feel like we should keep on talking about it, and then let's see, and I look forward to it being a change in a way. That's the film itself.
Yeah, thank you so much. Any new films that we can hope to see in the coming year?
Yeah. So I mean, I concluded. Maria was shot in 2019, by the way, and was released last year. I recently just finished principal photography for my latest feature film. It's called The Stone Drew Ripples. It's a film. It's a social cause issues film as well, and yeah, it should be out next year, and something good as well.
Awesome.
Fingers crossed.
Awesome. I look forward, and hopefully we'll have the opportunity to bring you back to Enfield Fest to talk about it. Thank you so much, Damilola, and thank you all for joining us today. Sign up to Africa in Motion's newsletter to keep up with their events, and follow them on social media using @AimFilmFest or #AimFilmFest. From myself and Damilola, it's thank you and goodbye. See you again soon.